All right, this is the Big Douglas Show. I'm Big Douglas. That's the rapper Big Pooh. We hit the trifecta today with at
We
Big
did.
Woes. Here we go. Big men all around. Wosny, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm chilling. You know what's so interesting, Doug, is that you call me Big Woes, which is actually the correct ethnic way to say my name. But publicly, I'm known as Big Waz, which is the Yankee way to say it. So it's dope that you just instinctually said it the way my ancestors meant it to be said, man. So shouts to you for that.
Well, I appreciate it. I also was going to get you to tell me if I'm right. It must be Lambre, right? It can't be
Yes, it
Lambre.
is.
The Haitian, I'm assuming it's French in nature.
Yes, it is exactly. You just hit the head nail on the
Put
head,
them
brother.
all here.
That's
Give me all the props. I take them all.
it is lambre. Yes, exactly. That's exactly how you say it.
I was watching the hip hop undercover or uncovered
Oh
on FX.
man,
I'm two and a half in. I don't know if you guys have been watching it.
I've
Oh
Really,
yeah.
I've I've
a lot
watched
of
it.
stuff.
Yes, I have.
I feel like I know a lot. That's what I grew up on. There's a lot of stuff in there that I did not know about.
Yeah, 100%. So the funny thing about Haitian Jack, who has been like this ominous, sort of notorious figure for a while. If you're a hip hop nerd, or if especially if in NYC, where I'm from originally, his name rings so many bells. But I had watched like a really lo-fi sort of documentary on
Mm.
Amazon Prime, that this dude had done about Haitian Jack. He got him to, sit down for an interview. The dude flew to DR, and basically his conclusion was like, yo, this dude's a sociopath. He's a liar. He's manipulative. He's a bad dude. Then you watch Hip Hop Uncovered. I'm like, yeah, same.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, same.
Also, nobody on the planet curses more than Dr. Dre.
Listen, the
I
funniest
know a lot
part,
of people that curse, myself included. Nobody curses more than Dr. Dre. I mean, if he's breathing.
the funniest part about the Dre thing, I was around Dre during the making of Compton.
Mm.
And so I met the director, Rashidi Harper.
Oh, nice.
And the funniest thing is his name had under his name was Professional Winner. And everybody else had what they did. His said
Right.
Professional Winner. And I just remember him screaming that in the studio like the whole time I was in there, Professional Winners. So when I saw it, I burst out laughing.
That's
And
funny.
and my wife was like, "Why are you laughing so hard?" And I was like, he has Professional Winner up under his name. That's his title. That's what he believes his title is. So, but he does
Did
curse a
y'all
lot.
watch the Defiant Ones on HBO?
Yeah, I watched it.
I
That
saw
was a
some of it.
while ago. That was a while
Yeah.
It
ago.
was
That
a
was
while.
definitely Dre and Jimmy propaganda, but I still enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like I still was able to enjoy it for what it was, but it was absolutely like um Dre and Jimmy IV mythologizing themselves, which respect. I would probably do the same thing if given the opportunity.
Yes, when Apple gives you $1 billion, you get to make things that look real good about yourself and become a professional winner.
Exactly.
Definitely a big professional winner. Big professional. Wells, I want to ask you about your approach to writing in the NBA, about the NBA. Like what inspired your approach to the style you took, the path you took?
Man, what's interesting, when I talk Dan Kaufman, who's the head of NBA content at the Athletic, and I talk to Sergio Rodriguez, who's like, the our biggest editor on the NBA side, about allowing me to write for the site. I basically pitched him on the idea that, like, look, obviously I'm a hoops head. I played basketball my whole life. But also, like, I'm a hip hop head, meaning I listen to the same music as these dudes. I follow the same girls on Instagram, right? Like I follow the same, clothing accounts. I am so connected to NBA culture, as it pertains to the greater culture at large. And that's basically the slant that I'm always gonna take, right? Like I come from a working class background, so that's always gonna be part of what informs my worldview. And that's that's what it is, being connected to all of those things that I just mentioned, where I'm from, the things that I find to be interesting, and connecting it to the NBA. That's always what I'm gonna do, right? Like, I tried to explain to my editor when we wrote it, like he wanted me to write something about Dr. Martin Luther King for the King holiday. And I was like, look, man, I'm a former union guy. I'm basically, I'm a socialist, like, for lack of a better word. I never see people write about Martin Luther King's sort of socialist tendencies and ideas. That's what I'm going to write about if you ask me to write for Martin Luther King Day, right? Like, I'm going to talk about the Poor People's March. I'm going to talk about uniting the working poor across all races, creeds, religions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just me. Like, I'm always going to tie my own worldview and upbringing to any work that I do, whether it be on the NBA side, whether it be some of the political work that I do for my own company. Whatever I do, I'm bringing my background, my upbringing into it.
Nice. You went out, Doug. You went out. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I think his mic got.
Yeah, it's going in and out. I think it bounced in and then bounced out. Let's see where we at. There you go.
I just got the mic without the headset today. Y'all can hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Technology.
Yes, it gets the best of us all the time.
I was going to ask you about, I think you got something coming up with David Aldridge, and it must be pretty cool. There are a lot of great and unique voices at the Athletic. David has got to be right up there at the top.
I mean, what can I say about David Aldridge? The guy is literally in the Hall of Fame, right? He's been at this basically as long as I've been born. I think he started in NBA covering the NBA professionally in like 88. I was born in 87, and so the amount of things that he's seen, the relationships he's built over the course of the years, and most importantly, while working with him, honestly, and getting to know him better and better, and knowing that he does it from a place of being a principled person, being fair, not killing anybody for an agenda, being honest, like, not being a shady cat. There's a lot of shadiness that goes down in NBA media, as I'm sure you guys might imagine. DA being the type of cat to ascend to where he has, having the principles that he has, is very inspiring for somebody like me who's just getting started, right? To let me know that, like, I don't have to go outside of myself in order to do quality work that people are going to notice and appreciate. I can stay true to the things that I hold dear to myself and what my people put into me. Even in this work, right? Even in this work in this industry, where, let's face it, there's a lot of ambitious people. A lot of people are trying to get ahead. A lot of people are trying to do what they got to do, right? And God bless them. Like, do what you do. DA is awesome, just working with him, just the way he inspires me to be, not just put in the work to make my work as great and as the highest quality that it could possibly be, but also I don't have to sacrifice my own morals or principles, sell my soul, to do great work in this game.
Nice. I want to switch. I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Ask you. I know you cover a lot of fashion trends in the NBA, and can you talk about the change from when David Stern implemented the dress code to how we got to where we are now with some of the wild outfits we've been seeing?
So, I'm talking to the rapper Big Pooh, so I already know that you were very connected to the Fab Five, right?
Absolutely.
Which is essentially the basketball culture coming out as, not only are we basketball, but we're hip hop. They were the first to make it that, right? Like, they were so blatantly that. They were so blatantly hip hop in their embodiment of how they approached the game. Like, they were the first. And so, first, before we talk about the NBA dress code and all of those things, we kind of got to go back to the 70s, where the perception of the NBA was that of, it's this black as hell league and it's overrun with drugs. That was the sort of perception in mass media of what the NBA product was. So from the very beginning, the NBA has always been battling a perception problem. And that perception being it's a black league, right? Anything black in America is considered to be not good, not pristine, not pure, right? So they've been battling this from the 70s. So then in comes Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, lifts the NBA out of that and takes them to the mainstream. Like these guys, like it's hard to overstate how incredibly popular Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were as individuals, as stars, and they lifted the league on the backs of that. And of course, behind them, you have Michael Jordan, who takes it to another level, right? And Jordan carries that torch basically up until 1998 when he retires. And then he hands it off to who? To Chris Webber, to Allen Iverson specifically, right? To Rasheed Wallace, to all of these, to even Shaq, who dropped the rap album. Jordan had it, and Jordan was not hip hop. Jordan was never hip hop. If you watch The Last Dance, he was bumping Kenny Lattimore.
Kenny Lattimore.
You understand? So Mike was not hip hop. Mike, when he finally left, he handed it over to the hip hop generation. And that was AI. That was AI starting a global revolution of hairstyles where there's brothers in Africa wearing cornrows because of Allen Iverson, right? Like these guys became the cultural ambassadors. And I think David Stern, again, because he did take over the league in 1980 as commissioner. He came and he was like the deputy commissioner, or he was the NBA's lawyer before that in the 70s. And he dealt with when they had to try to get TV contracts. Because of those battle scars, David Stern was always very conscious of the perception of the NBA. And you see Allen Iverson with the chains and the tats and the cornrows, and you see what's happening when we got Rasheed and we got all of these other different cats, Spreewell, you name it, that generation of cats. Stern was like, man, listen, we still trying to sell this game to these crackers. So as much as y'all might say, oh, this is racially insensitive or whatever, when we grow the pie of money that we can make for the league, that's in the player's best interest. That's how David Stern could justify what we could all accept is a racist dress code. This idea that a chain makes you look bad. This idea that a certain, size clothes makes you look bad. It's inherently racist, right? But David Stern justified it. But like, look, when we grow the money pie, it's the players whose pockets are growing as well with it. So that's what we're trying to do here. And so, so that's what you saw. Now, of course, and we got to mention this too, the Malice at the Palace. Again, bunch of black dudes running into the stands, whooping the shit out of some white fans, paying customers. Perception-wise, that's horrible for the NBA. So Stern, again, coming from the battle scars of the 70s, was like, yo, we got to come down pretty heavy-handed here, and we're going to put a dress code in. So that's when they did you got to wear a suit jacket or whatever. You can't do this. And they did that to clean it up. My man, Marcus Camby, came out and said, oh, I need a special stipend to buy suits, even though he made $8 million that year. And that's when we saw that. And again, Rapper Big Pooh, this at that same time, 06 and 07, we were coming out of gangsterism being the dominant mode in hip hop, right? We basically had that 50 and Kanye moment, and you saw now where basically we have blue collar working class rappers like a Kanye, like a Lupe Fiasco, et cetera, coming out and them becoming the dominant forces in rap, right? Like a Kid Cudi, or even if you don't want to call him a rapper, like these kinds of people. Drake flows out of this. Wale flows out of this. J. Cole flows out of this. We start to leave the sort of gangster rap, whatever aesthetic that was definitely obviously being portrayed by AI. AI and 50 Cent basically dressed exactly the same. We started to come out of that. And so when Kanye and them become sort of the dominant forces in hip hop, that's when you saw the NBA players now are dressing like Kanye. They're not dressing like 50 anymore. They're not dressing like AI. They're dressing like Kanye and the Cuddies, et cetera, et cetera. So as you've seen rap evolve in its style and self-presentation, so has the NBA, because the two things are so intertwined, right? Like James Harden is avoiding training camp to go to little baby's birthday party. You understand? Like it's literally one and the same. So when you see what people are wearing, it's no different than what the Migos are wearing. That's all they're emulating, you know. And so when you see guys looking crazy, you know, just look at Lil Uzi Vert. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where they're getting it from.
And that ruined it for me because I'm a 6'6", 300-pound man. When everybody was wearing the 3XTs, that was a good thing for
Perfect.
me.
Yes.
You know, skinny jeans don't work for me at all. And so now everything, I got short shirts, tight pants. I'm stuck.
No. See, this is the thing too. I think there's always going to be a happy medium. I think there are people out there who you don't like, because again, for you to leave your house dressing like Quavo at 6'6", 300 pounds, like that just would never make any sense to anybody. And even 2 Chainz, who's a huge guy, even it takes a special type of person to be that size to do that. I think there's definitely, you know, a happy medium between trying to look your best and just dressing, you know, for all intents and purposes, like a diva. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be some type of happy medium that we could all reach.
It's just it's wild to me how the walk-in, the NBA arena walk-in has turned into the new runway. Just some of the wild stuff you see. It's almost like guys know they're going to be on camera, so they just go find the wildest stuff they can pick out to get people talking, have social media going crazy.
It's that, but I think, you know, what people need to understand too, and I've talked about this previously in my work before, is like, you know, so Bron and D Wade, they realized with the Miami Heat that like they were getting unprecedented amount of attention, like eyes on them after they started that Heatles project. And they were like, you know what? Because more people are paying attention to what we do, we gotta professionalize our appearance. That's when they brought in people like Rachel Johnson, et cetera, professional image consultants. They literally professionalized the process. Like there was nobody picking out AI's clothes for him, right? Like he was just like, all right, I'm getting the Fat Farm and the Nietzsche. I'm icing out the Cuban, the chain, and we're going out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm gonna flood the Rollie, yeah, and I'm doing that. LeBron and D Wade, they were the first to professionalize the process, and I believe, and because I haven't asked them personally, that they did that because they were getting so much freaking attention. Everything they did became news, became media, and so they were like, you know what? We're getting the pros involved, and then I say all of that to say that's when you started seeing them get high-end deals. Like no NBA player had ever had an Audemars Piguet deal or a Richard Mille deal, or LeBron got this luxury freaking luggage deal, Rimowa or something. I forget what it's called. He got a luxury luggage deal. NBA guys were never getting these deals before they sort of started entertaining these things. And those people from high-end luxury brands was like, all right, we'll give you a check to do this. You get this much attention. You look good doing it. We'll give you a check to do it. So I think a lot of it is you seeing guys are doing that so that they create a sort of space and a lane for themselves outside of the game where people would be like, yo, I want to put this guy in my clothes. I want to put him in my ad campaign. I want to, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of them are, you know, trying to actually strategically line their pockets for, you know, financial ways outside of the game of basketball.
I also saw something, I forget who said this now, but they basically said for fashion designers, NBA players are basically walking hangers anyway. Super
100%.
wide shoulders,
Yep.
real tall. I mean, it's
Yep.
what you want to design clothes for, so it's an interesting fit that way.
Yeah. And you know it's
Jordan
crazy that you said that, Doug, because I think when you watch TV, like I'll take somebody like PJ Tucker or Marcus Smart, right? Like these guys on TV feel like really thick, muscular guys. If you see them in person, they
Right.
are slim.
Mhm.
And those are the thick, muscular NBA players. So that's not to tell you about a Ja Morant or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who are just like straight up real thin cats.
I was going to suggest that Jordan 4s are the best.
No.
Those don't listen. I'm a 3-4.
You got the
6
Mars
or 7
Blackman
guy.
4s, the Cool Gray 4s came
Yeah,
out recently.
I can't
I got to get the Mars
dispute that.
Blackman.
I can't dispute that. I'm a huge fan of the 4s. Man, it's something about that shoe. You'd be hard pressed to find a detractor from me, but most people I think would say it's the Jordan 11 because that's the one that sort of broke the mold. In like a lot of those shoes broke the mold. Like the 3s with the elephant print broke the mold, but like that patent leather, there's just something iconic about it. Everybody remembers the first time they saw those sneakers and just being completely shocked and awed by them.
They broke the mold, but them Jordans are some of the most uncomfortable shoes to wear in this
The
day and
4s,
age.
yeah, they're not very comfortable. They're not very comfortable. But you look good.
What do you think about Nike stewardship of the jerseys? Like, I'm not a big fan of these new colors and these, every time I watch the Houston Rockets now, I think I'm watching the Grizzlies. Like, it's just the colors are off. It's all over the place.
It's this funny thing. Everybody lampooned Adidas for the job that they were doing because they had the contract right before Nike.
Right.
And it was like, oh, finally, somebody with some type of design sense is getting these things and they're gonna kill it. And as you've seen, and most people would agree with you, Pooh, like they haven't killed it. And I think what that speaks to is how hard it is to get this right. And guess what? The best jerseys, I think we all agree, are just the classics, are the Celtics, are the Lakers, are the Knicks, are the just classic jerseys from yesteryear, are the old school Sixers, right? Not the stuff with the bells and whistles. Just give me the white with the blue and the red accents and keep it pushing. That's all I need. So you see that it's hard to actually innovate and keep it dope. I think with the I think with the South Beach stuff, I think they've killed it with their alternatives or whatever. But it's hard for me to see anybody else who's actually killed it with the alternative. And it sucks for Adidas because it took Nike failing that for people to be like, well, maybe this is actually really hard.
I think they thought it was going to be like watching the Oregon football team when they come out with all the different crazy colorways, and it's so nothing like that.
No, it's a lot harder to execute this, and especially in basketball, it's just different. Like football, they get to do the different jersey, they get to mess around with the pant colorway, they get to mess around with the socks, they get to mess around with the helmet, they get to mess around with so many different things. In the NBA, it's like, all right, you either get this jersey and shorts right, or you got nothing. And I just think it's hard. I think it's difficult to come up with new jersey designs that people are gonna appreciate.
The other thing that has changed is the shoes that don't match color. Wear any shoe you want now. That was not the way it worked when I was growing up.
I would that's a rule that they actually got rid of within the last 2 to 3 years. This is a very recent development.
Right.
And I remember when it first was announced that they're not going to put the restrictions on it, I was like, oh wow, this is great. This is going to be amazing. And honestly, it's been the opposite. I tweeted that one day and people called me like a boomer or get off my lawn. And I was like, yo, it doesn't look, it looks weird when somebody's wearing a neon green sneaker with black socks and a white and blue jersey. Like that just clashes.
It's like wearing an Adidas track suit with Nike shoes on. Drives me insane. Drives me absolutely insane. Don't put a Nike hat on with Reebok shoes, please.
Yeah, I've been known to wear an Adidas tracksuit, put a Nike shoe in my day.
Oh no.
Steve, I call that the European clash. You see a lot of that in Europe.
Well, you know how I justify it, Doug. I'll say, back in the days, we used to rock Tommy with polo. Like not everything. You didn't do polo down. Like, I mean, obviously the low heads. Shouts to the low heads in New York City. Shouts to my man Dallas Penn. But you know, the low heads obviously wore low all the time. But like, you know, in New York, you'd be like, all right, I got a Tommy jacket, I got a Nautica hat, I got a polo button up underneath. I'm fresh. That would be my sort of thinking. Just, you know, just rocking the fresh brands together.
Well, as I know PJ Tucker is a big shoe head and shoe
Mhm.
collector, maybe
Mhm.
maybe the biggest in the NBA.
Mhm.
Who's some of the other guys that are big shoe guys?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say, to be honest, because PJ Tucker, I've been watching him since he was at University of Texas, and he was doing this there too. And you know, I actually got to sit down with him and talk to him about his love of sneakers and where it all started and where it all came from. And you know, PJ Tucker explains it comes from a genuine place. Like this is I've been about this since I was 6, 7. You know, I came out the womb. I was born in 85. My mom had me in some ones. You know, PJ Tucker talks about it from a genuine place. But like honestly, you know, sneaker culture has become so synonymous with flex culture that it's no surprise that a bunch of young millionaires are now calling themselves sneakerheads in the NBA. But to answer your question, I think Jordan Clarkson is legitimately one of the ones. He's one of the guys that really is about it and really understands it from a deeply personal level. I think Jordan Clarkson is probably the only other person in the NBA who I would say I really respect what they do on the sneaker tip. The rest of these cats, let's be honest, man, these guys are just, you know, they can afford to, a lot of them have sneaker contracts with Nike, so they get in this stuff anyway, with Nike and Jordan, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard for me with NBA players to take them seriously as sneakerheads when, you know, again, I come from a culture where on my block, I'm talking about when I was 8 years old, we were talking about, yo, what sneakers we wanted to get. Oh, what sneakers we could beg our parents to get us. Or like, it was, you know, it was crazy. It's hard for me to believe, honestly, that most of these cats gave a fuck about sneakers when they were that young. It's become so dominant in the culture. And you seen the freaking Nike executive lady just got
Oh my
fired because her
goodness.
I
son.
was gonna ask you about that. What's the fallout gonna be on that thing?
That's man, that could turn
It's wild,
very
right?
bad for the company. Because there is a perception out there that the little guy is getting completely squeezed out and stomped on in sneaker culture, right? Like this idea that no normal person ever gets to purchase these sneakers at what Nike deems to be the suggested retail price. And then you see one of the price gouges, one of the biggest price gouges in sneakers. His mom is an executive, a vice president at the company. This kid has warehouses full of sneakers that he's going to resell at double, triple, quadruple, 5 times the retail price to civilians. And it's, and, you know, and that perception has been growing for a while, and it's scary. I feel bad, man. This could get bad because, you know, if I'm Nike, I'd be very worried because we saw it with the GameStop thing where a bunch of people on the internet decided that they're going to go against the company. In that case, it was against the hedge fund, and they're going to try to do their best to sabotage them. I think, you know, a lot of people can get together online and be really mad at Nike. And obviously, it's a bit different in the sense that Nike has delivered so many memories and nostalgia and cool experiences for people. So it's going to be harder for people to turn against them. But yo, man, it's not hard for a mob to form around some type of grievance online and weaponize that mass grievance against a corporation. I like if I was Nike, I'd be trying to figure out how to fix this with the sort of the rank and file community members of people who live and die with these products, right? Like not the people who are enriching themselves on the back of it, but the rank and file people who love this stuff so much. They should be trying to get back into their good graces, man, because the way it is right now, and again, like I don't want to get on my, you know, my socialist high horse and my capitalist critique, but the way it is right now is literally just capitalism run amok, right? Like this kid was able to buy $140,000 worth of sneakers on his mother's credit card because he knew he was going to be able to profit on it on the other side by upcharging it to again to normal people, people who aren't sneaker resellers, right? Mind you, his mother is a millionaire. Okay. And he's doing this for clout. And of course, there's money to be made in it. And it's just like, to what end can we continue to do this? Again,
The
like this
average
kid's
person
mom
has
is a
no idea
millionaire.
how much money is in those shoes.
Yeah, no. You can't. And it's hard because it's hard to sort of explain to somebody like, and even before this, there was the Complex wrote a beautifully well sourced and very well reported piece about the trophy room ones, which are the special Air Jordan
I'm
sneaker.
sorry, guys.
It's all good that Michael Jordan's son put out. And it was reported that this guy, it was a very limited run of sneakers, 12,000 pairs. And it was reported that he was selling what they call backdooring before the sneakers ever reached market. He was selling those sneakers at $1,000 a pop, at 1,000 at a time to certain reseller shops, et cetera, et cetera. And if you go online right now, I think those sneakers are probably 2,500 or something ridiculous like that. Shoe that probably costs $20 to make in China. It's
Right.
and the thing that I want people to, because I don't want to get on my preachy shit right now. But what I want people to understand about any given sneaker, no sneaker can be worth $2,500 if Nike is putting out sneakers every week, every day. And not just Nike. Adidas is putting, like, they're just sneakers. They're like, sneakers are coming. No one sneaker can be worth that if tens of millions of sneakers are being produced every single day. You can just decide that your Converses make you look just as good as those Jordan ones. You can, I promise you.
Well, what are you listening to right now?
Man, as I'm sure you know, a lot, like, the game has kind of been put on pause. Not a lot of new music has come out. And I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a pop rap fan. Like, I like Travis Scott, I like J. Cole, I like Drake, I like Kendrick. I like all of these artists, and none of them put out music this year, right? And so honestly, what I've been listening to is a lot of Young Thug, So Much Fun. That was like probably the last new shit that dropped that I was a huge fan of, because I've been a fan of Young Thug basically since Danny Glover. Like, he's one of the last rap artists I feel like who came out and you felt like this is something original. This is something I've never seen before. This is a feeling I've never had before listening to a rapper. And so I'll always love Thug for being so out there. And now he's got like 20 different clones in the game, which is fine, right? That's sort of how the game is. Like, the concept of biting that's been exercised from the hip hop
Completely.
lexicon, right? Like, that as a concept, it doesn't even exist anymore. In fact, the labels are like, how fast can we bite that guy? Nas tells the story if he couldn't get a deal because they said he sounded like G-Rap. These days they would be trying to make 7G raps, right? Like, they'd be trying to sign 7 of them to see who stuck.
27.
Yeah,
27 G
exactly.
raps.
And so, when I'm like, in the crib drinking wine, hanging out, I probably listen to Thug the most recently because nothing new has really come out. I loved. No, that's a lie. I liked Benny's album, the Hit Boy joint. I love that album. I loved Freddie Gibbs' last album. I started listening to that again last weekend because I just felt like being in a grimy mood. Um, and yeah, that's basically what I've been listening to. I haven't been listening to a lot of different crazy things lately.
My wife and I got to see Nas at the Kennedy Center with the National Symphony Orchestra one year. Greatest concert I've ever been to.
That sounds amazing.
Never. I seen it on video. I didn't get to
On
see it in
video.
person. I saw it on video.
It was the mix of people at the Kennedy Center that night to see Nas was worth the price of admission just to see all the different rando people.
But Big Pooh, I would love to know who you're bumping right now, because obviously, I think people have a lot of love and respect for what you guys did as a group. And it's obvious, evident from your work that you guys have impeccable taste, which means that you were influenced by the best of the best. So I would love to know what you find yourself gravitating towards these days, especially in a, as we're in a stasis moment in music.
Well, I've always kind of looked back more than look forward when I listen to music. And that has a lot to do with me, whether I'm working on something or not. But lately, I've really been listening to, been revisiting a guy, Saba Pivot out of Chicago. His joint Care for Me from 2018. So I've been going back revisiting that. And then the classics, man, the Cubes, the Outcasts, the EPMDs, the instrumental albums. I never used to be an instrumental album fan, but I got into this kid I think he's from the UK. His name is Romderful. And he sings a little bit, but it's a lot of instrumentals, and they're quick listens. But so that, and then the new Madlib instrumental. So that's kind of where I've been with it.
Yeah, I knew you was gonna sneak some backpacker stuff in there.
It come with the territory, I'm all over the place, and I want to thank, I got to thank Fonte for that, because he really opened, my ears to a lot of different music. We used to host a radio show in college.
Wow.
And on that radio show, we didn't play any hip hop. We didn't play anything that you could hear on the radio. And so I got introduced to Beck in different groups, Four Heroes, 07. And we just used to play all those different things. So now that's kind of into my diet, my musical diet now. So I kind of go all over the board these days.
I love that.
Yeah. You got any more questions, Doug?
No, I thought you were getting ready to wrap it up for us.
Oh, well, I got you. Yeah, I got you. Well, definitely want to thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Let the people know where they can find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, my handle on every single social media platform is BIGWOS. So you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, Snap, Stereo, whatever, you name it. It's BIGWOS on every single platform. I put out a NBA style roundup every week, just to, because these guys take it so seriously, right? Like, you can tell they put so much effort into what they're doing. So I just thought it would be a fun way to document it and offer the people a little bit of insight into what they're doing out there when you see them strutting down the catwalk in the tunnel. Another thing that I work on, obviously, I do a podcast with David Aldridge called Hoops Adjacent, and it's on the Athletic NBA show. So check that out wherever you get podcasts, man. Make sure you listen to that. And if you want to become politically radicalized, for my own media company, our independent media, I don't do the communism talk on the Athletics airwaves. But I do a podcast called The Woke Bros with my brother Nando Vila, where we just talk about politics with a leftward slant, right? Like, it's political discourse centered around the issues that affect working people, normal people, everyday people.
Gotcha.
And that's on the Dingers Podcast Network, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's on the Count the Dings podcast network. But you once you put Woke Bros, we're the only woke bros on the internet. So once you type that in, you'll be able to find that wherever you get your podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera.
Rose, we appreciate you.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. This was dope, man.
No problem. Thank you for your time.
All right, later, fellas.
All right.